Three people meet for lunch and discover they each possess a unique ingredient for a new company. The result becomes Advocado, a company that connects traditional advertising with the digital world to maximize click-through rates and ROI. In this episode of UpTech Report, I speak with Brian Handrigan, Advocado's co-founder and CEO, who explains the unique technology they use to find the synergy between television and the internet, and discusses an unconventional hiring approach they use to eliminate unconscious bias and diversifying their team. Thanks so much for joining me, Brian. I'm excited to learn more about Advocado, how it got started, and also how you are innovating and continuing to grow and look forward to the future. So first off, Brian, Where are you located and what year did you start this company?
Sure. So Advocado is located in the central part of the States. We're in St. Louis, Missouri.
Nice.
And this is actually a project that my co-founder and I started working on a couple of years ago. Actually, this is a really fun time for us because it was Thanksgiving of 2017 when we got the phone call that we had someone willing to let us try out our minimum viable product. So we have a lot to be thankful for this week.
Indeed. So 2 years later, this continuation of the journey, tell me kind of how did it start off and what was the primary focus, the pain point you're looking to solve, and how has that evolved as you've found more product market fit?
Gotcha. So one of the things that's really important to think about when it comes to our journey is really my co-founder Jeff Linehan and I call it the normal, say, startup weekend, right? Co-founders. We've been business partners for about 10 years. We used to own a digital marketing agency together, which was my background. I've spent over 20 years in that space. So what's important about that is it was the experience that we had through that journey that really saw an opportunity that helped us identify that opportunity. So, for example, for those that don't know, right, on the digital marketing side of things, what we experienced for years with our advertisers was that when they were running television, our campaigns did better, right? So it was great to be on the receiving end of that benefit, but the TV folks didn't like it so much, right? Because what's happened if you've been following any of the trends in media, over the last 10 years, digital has been growing, traditional advertising has been declining, and in 2017, there was an inversion where digital finally surpassed traditional advertising. So that part of things is one big part of the influence. And what kind of happened was a couple of years ago, about 2.5 years ago probably, a mutual friend of Jeff and I's asked us to have lunch with a friend of his. And it was one of those kind of coincidental, interactions. And the reason we were asked was because we had digital marketing experience, and we also had prior SaaS startup experience. So this isn't our first startup. And so we were in a phase where we had left that startup. It was doing great. We brought in an outside CEO, and we were ready to start building again. And so we go to this lunch, and to put it in perspective, in digital marketing, you're always looking for an edge. And so we had written algorithms that would talk to the Google Ads system to try to right price keywords. And so while we were at lunch, we got introduced to Sam, who's one of our co-founders now. And his family owned this really interesting intellectual property. And it was this, what was great, right? If you think about trying to introduce something new, it was already an industry standard for ad verification. So large advertisers like Coca-Cola would use it to make sure that when they bought ads all over the country that they actually got what they were paying for. Kind of a crazy idea. And so as we were sitting down and talking at lunch, Jeff and I looked at each other and we said, wait a minute. So there's a system that's already in place that advertisers already trust that tell us exactly when a specific ad is running anywhere in the country. Okay, that's pretty cool. And now taking you back, right? We already knew and had experience knowing that television could influence digital. And we said, how much better could it be if we knew exactly when that TV ad was running, what that TV ad was, and we went ahead and we went and connected. Initially, it was to Google. And we essentially asked Google to tell us what we needed to bid to be first for all of the keywords our customers cared about. So it was a combination of experience and a hell of a lot of luck to be at that lunch that day and realize we could control a really interesting set of intellectual property.
A lot of good things happen over a lunch there. Being able to, and it's the meeting of both the unique technology as well as your experience, the algorithm, and the opportunity in the market brought together this Advocado. Now, curious, the name, how'd you guys arrive at that one?
Yeah, so it actually came from a time we were all sitting around trying to name, but the essence of it is this, right? Advertisers are trying to connect with viewers or consumers all the time, right? And we are constantly distracted, right? We're constantly on our mobile phones, and the way we look at it is there's a small window of time when a specific consumer is actually ripe and ready to hear what an advertiser has to say. And if you're like me and you like avocado toast, you know that there's only a small window of time.
That is so true.
When an avocado is perfectly ripe. So while we were sitting around, it was actually Sam that said, we're kind of like avocados. And so it then evolved into Advocado.
Love it. So then starting in 2007, that kind of first client said, yeah, I'll try this out, advertisers from there. Were you guys then bootstrapped with your own funding? Did you get VC funding? How did that start?
Sure. So back then we were bootstrapping, right? When we were doing our minimum viable product and trying to really understand it, that was all bootstrap. Actually, what it was Jeff and I had some intellectual property that we were contributing. There was a watermark they were contributing, and then we kind of self-funded that first test. After that, we said, okay, we actually think we have something, right? And this is actually kind of, I'd call it a really good note for entrepreneurs out there is when you do your minimum viable product and you're trying to test it, what are your benchmarks you're trying to get to, right? So for us, we were looking at trying to prove that we were finding more interested consumers. And our metric was click-through rate on a Google Ads campaign. And our target was if we could achieve a 30% or greater improvement on click-through rates for a reasonable average cost per click increase, then we had something. Our target was 30% improvement at a 10% average cost increase. We blew that away. We ended up almost doubling the click-through rates with a 98%. So back then we said, okay, we have it, let's build it. The other thing though was to make sure we didn't launch too fast. So we went to some investors and raised some initial angel, right, pre-seed capital, and said, okay, what we want to do is we want to build a platform that is reasonably complete on day one. We didn't want to baby step into it because the ad tech space can have some bad rap in terms of smoke and mirrors and not really creating value.
If you want to already go into the marketplace, setting the right tone, it has to be already turnkey in a way.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, we needed a fully baked product.
Yep.
And our first version of the product was pretty much what we did in our minimum viable product. It was using signal data, as we call it, right, from broadcast television ads. And I'll explain how everything works here in a sec, right? And then we were activating what I refer to as micro moments. So literally 2-minute moments of time in terms of enhancing Google search campaigns.
And did you manually do this first test, or was it all automated?
No, we fully automated that test. It was a lot of duct tape, baling wire, and bubble gum. But the first one truly worked the way we wanted. And one of the critical aspects of it was that it had to be automated, right? Because we never knew when a TV ad was running. Mm-hmm. And if we were going to use, say, the old method of getting a schedule file that told us which 15-minute block a TV ad was running, we weren't going to have any true impact.
Got it.
We were just doing something everybody else was doing. So we actually fully automated it. And so I'll lay out kind of here's how we work, right? With that watermark, within the first couple of seconds of a TV ad running, we have computers all over the country watching TV. So we're not listening in your home right now. We're listening at a central station. And that's
you have a specific computer all over the place watching for this.
Watching local TV and national TV all over the country. And what's different than content recognition. So there's a way to do things. If you remember the old Shazam, right? A music app. Shazam could use automatic content recognition to tell you the song.
Right.
And that's really great for song, right? Because a song has a finite start, middle, and end. It doesn't change every time. And there's only audio, there's no video. So while there is, and we use a version of content recognition for a different part of our product, for us, we needed to know exactly what that television ad was and which version of it was as fast as humanly possible. Mm-hmm. So what's great about our watermark is, so the way it would work is within the first 4 seconds, we essentially pick up this inaudible barcode in the audio stream that told us everything we needed to know.
Wow.
And we'd go, great, so we know the exact version. Let's say it was for a Blue Cross Blue Shield health insurance plan, right, running here in St. Louis. So we knew the exact station. We knew it's running right now. Then we actually know how long that television commercial is. All that other data that we can store about it,
which the client has already put inside their content when they submit it for advertisers.
Got it. So it's all set up in our database.
Mm-hmm.
So again, within the first few seconds, we know the exact creative. Our system then turns around and connects to that advertiser's Google Ads account. So part of onboarding is, right, we have a very simple connection process. And then the customer decides which campaigns or even individual keywords. And
this is all self-controlled, that it's
full power on their part to determine what things they want to amplify.
Okay.
And they can even put limiters on it. They can say, even if Google tells us that the bid is $200 per click, I don't ever want to go over $54. So they have all that safety and security. So first couple of seconds, we know the exact creative. We then turn around and automatically connect to the Google Ads API. And we ask Google to tell us first position bid by keyword for 500 or 5,000 keywords. It doesn't matter. Google tells us that. We apply some additional business rules like these bidding caps or even multipliers. And then we go in and we surgically, algorithmically price each individual keyword to be right priced at that exact point in time here in St. Louis, if that's where the ad is running.
Tell me a bit both about your team as well as the client base. Like, what's the growth and numbers wise look like?
Yeah, sure. So again, while we did our minimum viable product 2 years ago, we actually spent most of 2018 building out a platform that was rock solid. So we launched just over a year ago. It was middle of September of 2018 when we launched out of beta.
Nice.
And we started gaining some traction immediately because of our past histories and being in the agency space. We understood the mechanics of annual health insurance enrollment time. So we got some initial customers. We had revenue almost immediately, which was nice. But it was seasonal, right? It happens during the fourth quarter.
Yep.
The good news is all of those customers have come back and expanded. So our churn is low.
Yeah.
But we've really kind of spent most of then 2019 working out our sales process. So our team has grown. So we had a very heavy engineering team, right, during 2018.
Right.
We then added, in terms of our customer, success and onboarding, our data analytics and digital platforms. Our probably most significant recent hire was our chief revenue officer, Amy Bobchek, who came to us. She'd spent the last 14 years at Comcast Spotlight. So she knew the problem from the other side and saw the value proposition, and she's been a super ad. So with customer adoption, we had kind of a flat summer of sales. It's one of the reasons why we found Amy. Right? You can't do everything right on the first try. So our revenue grew from 25,000 in monthly revenue in August to 45 in September to 77 in October to November's looking. So we're on a pretty good path right now.
Nice.
And our goal is to hopefully be around over 200,000 in monthly revenue in Q1.
What would you say for other entrepreneurs out there over the last 2 years? What's a hurdle you had to overcome that maybe you can share some insight a learning that came from that?
Sure. I think one of the things from a hurdle is I think hiring for startups is always difficult, right? And there are two parts to it. One is we definitely want the best team that we can bring, and I think we talk a lot as startup founders about bringing diversity to our teams, but we don't know how, right? And so fortunately, Jeff, my co-founder, came across this survey assessment called the Culture Index, which the essence of it is we all became who we are at about age 12, 13. Things that drive us, right? Are we more about hard charging ahead, or are we about service to others? Do we like social interactions, or do we like data? So there are these 4 core traits, right? And so one of the things we learned, and so Jeff found it. He's like, Brian, you gotta see this thing. Somebody I'd never met told me who I was on the first call, and it was crazy. And then explained why Jeff and I are such effective business partners. So we started learning more. We got trained in it, and we deployed it. And so for us, when we do a hiring process, we start by identifying the traits that a person needs to be successful. So if you're in sales, you better want to win, right?
Yes.
Right. And, and if you're a software engineer, it's about service to others and right, and data. So there are these innate traits.
Aligning their own innate trait to the specific role that you need them to play.
Exactly, because the idea is the more that the people are in alignment with the role, you end up with job satisfaction and happy people. Crazy, right? They're going to stay in the job longer.
Yep.
So that is our first. That's our first test. Is, are you of a profile type that is going to be able to succeed in the job? And by putting that as our first hurdle versus looking at someone's resume, now you get it. All of a sudden, a lot of unconscious bias is thrown away.
So 2 years in, moving forward, you see the vision already, potential revenue in Q1. Where do you see the business in 5 years from now?
Oh my God, 5 years is a long way.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about our business, not as a television to digital platform, but the way we describe it is this intent arbitrage engine that uses signal data, right? In the offline world primarily, to drive actions in the digital. We have things coming out. We have 4 core pillars of our product roadmap that include things like, contextual-based triggers. So are we processing all the closed caption streams and audio streams to find, positive and negative sentiment with keywords? We think political is going to be an interesting year for us because with all of the restrictions of, I'll call it the old black hat style targeting, we think we can be a white hat approach to more appropriate connections. So as we grow, I see us growing throughout North America specifically. We've got interest in, from folks in South America. We've got interest over in the European markets as well. So the goal is we become the dominant industry leader for this new type of advertising technology that is about connecting in a micro moment of intent. That's what I see the next 5 years bringing.
So both growth in location, global opportunities, as well as the different industries and the timing with the elections and everything coming up. TV, there's a lot of commentary around that itself. If you look isolated, TV on the decline, but what you're doing is not necessarily connecting yourself only to just the traditional concept of TV. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right. I mean, so I'm completely there with you. Believe me, we hear that question all the time, right? Like, what are you guys doing? Because TV's dying, but it still is massive, right? And it is a complicated offline to online connection to make. So we have a very strong moat, right? With our intellectual property that we control, we've got additional patents we filed. So we don't see it dying anytime soon. However, we're not going to go the way of the buggy whip, right? Manufacturers. That is not, our business is about intent, not about television. And so where we can build and where we can bring, right, more intent-based connections, that is what we're going to grow on. And so that might mean audiences on connected TV ads, right, or on streaming services in a way that other people can't do.
Moving forward, aside from then the technology and how you apply this vision, what other hurdles do you see in order to realize where you want to be in 5 years from now that you're going to have to overcome?
Well, yeah, there's definitely on the capital side, right? So our goal is, and in some ways I'd say the WeWork debacle, right? Is really help startups because the prior view of the world was, okay, I'll go through my seed stage, I'm going to raise, I'm going to keep burning capital, and I'm going to get to my Series A. Somewhere down the road, I'm going to make money. Our approach has always been, we want to get to cash flow neutral, cash flow positive out of our seed rounds so that we can decide when to do a Series A for growth. And then that growth, if we ever hit an economic bump, we can always turn profitability on.
Yep.
And so we'll use that as gasoline, as rocket fuel, but not as, right, we're going to build the rocket ship.
You're not using it to build it as you go. You're going to use it to fuel it so it goes faster.
Exactly.
Other particular blogs or podcasts or books that you're listening to or reading?
Yeah. I've listened to all kinds of different books, right? I mean, one of the things I think as a startup founder in particular, that tends sometimes to get lost is a commitment to being the best leader you can be. Right? So whether it's Extreme Ownership, right? Or Simon Sinek's Leaders Eat Last, or, different, or The Dream Manager. I mean, probably if you look at my business book collection, most of them are on just how to not be a crappy leader, right? Because even though I think we're doing, some good things day in and day out, it's always easy to forget. And so, there's that. The other side is I do love kind of understanding, how businesses operate. Mm-hmm. So the current book I'm listening to is Bitcoin Billionaires, right? With the Winklevoss brothers, right? Doing their redo. And it's so far, it's really interesting and brilliant.
Last question I have for you is, of all the upcoming technology that's coming out, what are you personally most excited about, interested in?
Interesting. I'm probably most interested in the idea of autonomous driving. Like in terms of pure technologies coming out, I mean, the complexity behind making that work and not killing people. Because I just hate driving. Yep. So I'm notorious for being the guy that get in the rental car, I'm not getting the driver's seat, right? And if there's somebody else with me and we're going to a meeting, I'm probably not driving. So I love the idea or the promise of being able to hop in my car, get to a place, and not have to worry about paying attention to the road.
Well, thank you so much, Brian, for joining us. Where can folks go to learn more, and what's a good first step for them to take?
Yeah, sure. So if you want to learn more, right, about us, we are at myadvocado.com. And the best first step is we have a couple of things, I think, on our website. You can download some white papers, learn more. We have some case studies. And if you're somebody that either is doing advertising on TV and digital, or even if you're not, one of the things we're working on is, right, with our competitive, you don't actually have to have your own TV ads. If you want to activate against somebody else's, give us a call. We'll get you in the sales funnel and we'll start a couple of month trial. My guess is it's going to work because it hasn't not worked. And then we'll go from there. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.